Well, good morning. It is Monday, March 1st. Made it to a new month. Hopefully the weather is getting better and snow is melting and we can begin to see the signs of spring. Again, we're using N.T. Wright's Lent for Everybody, the Gospel of Mark. And today's passage is Mark 5, 1 through 20, and that is the emphasis. I'll read the whole thing. So they came over the sea to the land of Gerasene. When they got out of the boat, they were suddenly confronted by a man with an unclean spirit. He was emerging from a graveyard, which was where he lived. Nobody had been able to tie him up, not even with a chain. He had often been bound with shackles and chains, but he used to tear up the chains and snap the shackles. No one had the strength to tame him. On and on, night and day, he used to shout out from the graveyard into the hillside and slash himself with stones. When he saw Jesus a long ways away, he ran and threw himself down in front of Jesus. "Why, you and me, Jesus?" he shouted at the top of his voice. "Why you and me, the Son of the Most High God? By God, stop torturing me." This last because Jesus was saying to him, "Unclean spirit, come out of him." "What's your name?" Jesus asked him. "Legion," he replied. "That's my name. There's a lot of us." And he implored Jesus not to send them out into the countryside. It so happened that right there near the hillside was a sizable herd of pigs, and they were grazing. "Send us to the pigs," begged the spirit, "so that we can enter them." So Jesus gave them permission. The unclean spirits came out and went into the pigs. The herd rushed down the steep slope into the sea, about 2,000 of them, and were drowned. The herdsmen fled. They told it in the town. They told it in the countryside, and people came to see what had happened. They came to see Jesus, and there they saw a man who had been demon-possessed, who had had the legion seated, clothed, and stone-cold sober, and they were afraid. The people who had seen him all told them what had happened to the man and to the pigs, and they began to beg Jesus to leave this district. Jesus was getting back in the boat when the man asked if he could go with them. And Jesus wouldn't let him. Go back home," he said. Go to your people and tell them what the Lord had done for you. Tell them how he had pity on you." And he went off and he began to announce in the 10 towns what Jesus had done for him, and everybody was astonished. When Bertrand Russell wrote his famous book, Why Am I Not a Christian?, he listed various things about the life of Jesus, which he said put him off. One was the story of Jesus cursing the fig tree. Another was the incident Russell objected to, Jesus' apparent cavalier treatment of 2,000 pigs. I have sometimes had atheists write to me or speak to me after lectures and repeat those same charges. Was Jesus not guilty of rough, violent treatment of the world, of animals and plants? Objectives like these completely miss the point and raise worrying questions about how serious Russell actually was in his consideration of Christianity. The Gospels were not written to be a conundrum of useful moral teachings and behaviors to be offered to a world that simply needs good advice and good examples. They were written to describe a one-off, a unique moment in the history of the world. They make the sense they do only on the assumption that the world as a whole, and human beings in particular, and some human beings especially, are in an almighty mess and need a drastic rescue operations. They tell the story of how that dramatic and dangerous rescue operation was carried out. In particular, they demanded to read at several different levels. There were several stories in the gospel that carried echoes and resonances far beyond their surface meanings, and this was one of them. Whether or not, as some people think, Mark was written for the young church in Rome, everyone in the first century Mediterranean world would have known what legion was. It was the basic unit of Roman armies. Each legion comprised between 5,000 to 6,000 men. There were Roman outposts across the Middle East, with the nearest legion itself based just to the north of Palestine and Syria. Legion meant Roman power, and Roman power meant a smoldering resentment on the part of the local people, who resented being ruled by foreigners, resented and sometimes even dangerously resisted paying taxes to them, and resented, above all, the insult into their national way of life because of their own leader. And it colluded with the pagan lords. Legion meant all of that and so much more. With resentment, there came obsession. Suppose a Roman soldier had, with casual brutality, killed your best friend. Suppose a legionnaire had raped your daughter. Would you go home that night fuming, furious, but helpless? You would get up in the morning and with words hammered away in your head, legion, legion, legion. And with obsession, there could come possession. Oh, I'm not pretending we can understand how all that works. There is nothing logical or easily analyzed about destructive evil, but it wouldn't be so dangerous if we could understand it. But I know that in this way, and in many other ordinary people can, as it were, be taken over by strange forces. Something they speak in their own voice. Sometimes, though, another voice, or several voices, seem to come out of them. And the destructive nature of this possession can often be seen in self-destructive behavior. People who have worked in this area, and I haven't done so much, but I know and trust some who have, will recognize all this depressingly familiar. The story, then, seems to operate on at least three levels. First, there's the striking story of a very sick man wonderfully healed and restored by Jesus. That, as always, is moving and powerful. But second, and underneath that, there is the shadow of a story that a great many first-century Jews longed to tell. The story of the Romans with their legions, their garrisons, their sneering officials, their tax collectors, and all their no-good works being driven out of the country, out of the region, preferably down the hill into the Mediterranean Sea, never to be seen. Third, linked to that, there is something going on here about Jesus' work on the edge of the Holy Land. The region he was in, that is Gerasene, is on the east side of the Sea of Galilee, disputed territory then as it is now, and there was a herd of pigs, as there certainly wouldn't have been if the inhabitants had been living as good, law-abiding Jews, who of course didn't eat pork. There is an implicit challenge here. The story is an acted parable, not only of cleaning the land of pagan pollution in the form of the Romans and their legions, but also perhaps of cleansing the land from the internal pollution of those who were sitting light in their ancestral code. Underneath it all is the larger picture, that the God of who never abandons anyone, no matter how far they seem to be, of a Jesus who is acting with authority over all the forces that rear their ugly heads in this world, of spiritual powers that can be transformed, the saddest and most frightening of human circumstances. This, Mark is saying, is what it's like when God takes charge. It will be a bumpy ride because the terrain is so uneven, but the kingdom is on the way. So summarize, we've heard this story many times, and what Dr. Wright is getting at is there's more to the story than just Jesus cleansing somebody. That name Legion had meaning to them. They knew what Legion meant. It meant the Roman armies. And Jesus was exorcising, for lack of a better term, this demon, this Legion, and getting rid of him into the pigs, which, a good Jew wouldn't have anyways. But he's in this area of land that was disputed, even today, as to who has authority over that land. It was a particular plot of land that Jesus was claiming as rightly belonging to the Jewish people. And so he got rid of the pigs. Why not? That's not what Jews eat. So the story has real particular meaning to the people that were there. And again, this goes towards another level of people using this against Jesus to persecute him on Good Friday and kill him on Good Friday. His case is building up. We see it as kingdom building. They saw it as kingdom being destroyed. How could they destroy 2,000 pigs? They never mentioned anything about this man being healed and being exorcised of this legion. They were concerned about the pigs. And they used that as evidence against Jesus, that he is out for evil and that he is not on the side of God. The story contains a whole lot on different levels. We'll see you tomorrow.